Sonic Adventure is one of my most beloved games of all time. 6 converging stories, each of which essential to the plot with quite a bit of action, character growth, and exploration in each one of them. What isn't there to love about this game? But I've always had a lot of admiration for aspects of this game outside of conventional gameplay. Sonic Adventure is the first mainline game in the series to introduce open hub worlds. These areas give the illusion of a seamless, cohesive overworld where you can physically outline on a map where each area and level is. And that's always been interesting to me. Like, what do you mean I can take a train from the big city over to a place that looks like it's in the middle of South America? It's not just the hub worlds that have this open, freeing feeling, but the levels too. I'm not sure how the 2D stage design was so beautifully translated to 3D. But they managed to do it, with quite a lot of split pathways, difficult platforming sections that reward you, and hazards that you need to have your eyes peeled open for, lest you fall down to lower and lesser routes. There are even some parts of these stages that have an immense amount of detail that you wouldn't think twice about despite the amount of effort that probably went into developing them. If you saw one of my most recent videos, you'll see that I discussed one of these such areas in the At Dawn portion of Speed Highway. With all of the intricate design features of that level, the cars driving around and responding to your movements, the fountain shooting you in the air depending on which direction you enter it from, diverging pathways, and even the unique late 90s beauty showcased in the art direction for the area, At Dawn serves as the shining example when I discuss underutilized, overlooked areas within Sonic Adventure. But it's not the only one. So I decided to replay Sonic Adventure, as I do every year, but this time taking note of any of these unique areas that I feel deserve a little more love. So let's start with the first stage of the game, Emerald Coast. Emerald Coast is exactly how you want to start a game. A low-stakes mission where you have to rescue Tails after his genius blunder. A vibrant stage with an infectious soundtrack, all on top of really unique geometry for a coastline. In my opinion, it surpasses anything put forward in 2D. The place in this stage that I want to look at is right after the act switch. Once you navigate this bridge at the top of the lighthouse portion, you're thrown into what is essentially the second act of this level. The music switches, and the level style changes a little bit with new obstacles that you'll have to adapt to. For most people entering this section, they'll run up the wall, grab the speed shoes power-up, and use the springs to bounce across the top of the stage, collecting an extra life along the way. And that's the route I've been taking every time I've played this game over the past 10 years. It's more rewarding. There's literally a ton of rings and an extra life. Who wouldn't go this way? But if you decide to sacrifice all the benefits of Sonic level design and take the lower portion, you're rewarded with this little nook right here. Here, the water takes on a little more of a greenish hint, and with how the area is landlocked on all sides, it feels like a little grotto where you can hang out with these water strider badniks. This area is designed to be somewhat of a platforming challenge, where you jump across all the lily pads to continue the level. And since this is one of the few areas in the game where you can drown if you're not careful, you're gonna want to pay close attention to what's around you. While I love the effort that Sonic Team put into developing multiple pathways to navigate through a more open 3D space, it's a real shame that one path is not only so easy to access, but also far and away the better path to take. Because it takes you away from this really well-designed, beautiful area that I've always felt deserves more love. It's not even a situation where you can come back and explore with a different character. Big and Gamma's portions of Emerald Coast cut off far before the act transition, so you can only really come here with Sonic. I guess I'll be taking the lower path more often from now on. Moving on to Sonic's third stage, Casinopolis, there's really no area that stands out as being remarkably unremarkable. I mean, 90% of the time you'll be inside one of the pinball machines, And while the Nights into Dreams pinball machine has always been my favorite thanks to the little journey you can take inside Nightopia, at the end of the day, nobody's really forgotten these areas. But what about the Knuckles exclusive areas of Casinopolis? As Knuckles in your pursuit of the Master Emerald shards, you gain access to this massive upper portion of Casinopolis that you can never see as Sonic. Why is this even here? People in a casino aren't going to be ogling at the ceiling. Standard to any Vegas casino, you have a giant sign of a scantily clad woman, who in the Japanese version will moan if you hit. There's a huge pirate ship which would be fun to navigate through if it were designed to allow it, and this giant golden lion, which I would argue is the main display among the three, as it more often than not hides a Master Emerald shard. It's a shame that these really interesting details are exclusive to Knuckles' Casinopolis stage. I mean, you can get here as Sonic, you just have to kind of break the game a little. But having them be accessible and notable in Sonic's stage could help Casinopolis from being overlooked every time a casino stage debate is brought up among Sonic fans. I mean, the only actual platforming aspect of the stage is in the sewers, and I wouldn't exactly say it fits the theme. The stage would receive a lot more love if these giant set pieces were to be on the ground level, with entrances to each one of the pinball games being located alongside them. It could help provide a little more theming besides the pinball games. But thanks to these absolute blunders from Sonic Team regarding the development of Casinopolis, it seems it's only notable for breaking apart a family thanks to this one random NPC's gambling addiction. I mean, dedication. Gambling dedication, yeah. This next area is more of a background asset and requires a little bit of context. So as we all know, Angel Island fell from the sky at the beginning of the game and essentially collided with the Mystic Ruins. That's obvious. I mean, this giant cliffside is supposed to be the side of Angel Island. For some unknown reason, Sonic Team decided that we should visit Ice Cap Zone again. I mean, it would only make sense, right? So tell me why, despite Angel Island's seclusion from the rest of the world and the fact that it's floating high in the sky thanks to the power of the Master Emerald, how do we have giant bridges, ramps, and other man-made objects littered throughout the stage? I mean, am I making too big a deal about this? During the snowboarding section of Ice Cap, you'll see that your course is lined with chateaus, windmills, hot air balloons, and a ton of other things that wouldn't seem too out of place in a ski resort in the Alps. The hot air balloons I can make an excuse for. People might just want to check out Angel Island, so they rent hot air balloons to fly up top. But the houses and windmills? Even the Sonic Wiki makes note that these buildings may indicate Knuckles is not the only inhabitant of the island. And I suppose to some extent Carnival Night Zone expressed the same thing. There's just no way these houses were built in the short amount of time it's been since the island fell into the sea. Maybe these are ancient mountainside houses the Echidna tribe used to live in. If that's the case, well then they certainly had nice taste whenever they weren't in the capital. But I'm starting a new headcanon. When Knuckles isn't guarding the Emerald or searching for Emerald pieces when he inevitably fails to guard the Master Emerald, he's renting out cabins to families in Station Square in a very shady manner. In the comments of my previous video discussing Sonic Adventure's levels, I got a handful of people talking about Red Mountain, a true standout of a stage. I've always somewhat overlooked it, as I loathe having to play through the tornado section that follows. But with the recent rise in popularity that the interior section of Red Mountain has received, I suppose it's only worthwhile to discuss it. I would argue that the music change here between the two portions of Red Mountain is equally drastic as that in Speed Highway. You go from this optimistic, upbeat tune that exudes positivity to this kinda grungy, underground beat that makes you bop your head. Both songs fit extremely well with their respective portions, so I can't even criticize the drastic change. But it's in this second portion inside the mountain where we'll find our next area of interest. While normally you're far more focused on escaping the lava that's slowly rising inside the cave, this time I decided to hang out over here with these hooligans locked up behind bars. Being guarded by some of Eggman's badniks, it makes you wonder what these weird looking fellas could have done to upset even the most evil person in the Sonic universe. And are they gonna be okay with the rising lava? I get that prison is often cruel, but this is taking it a bit too far. I'm glad I'm not the only person to ask this question, as Reddit user Heart of Speed outlines that these guys are actually earthbound spirits, and that Red Mountain is essentially their hell on Earth where they must stay for all eternity. That's a little dark for a Sonic game. Normally ghosts in the series aren't given this much detail, but it's kind of disturbing. That's why when I decided to replay Sonic Adventure, I did the side mission where you had to bring the Burger Man statue over to them, just to keep them company and maybe alleviate their suffering, if only a little bit. Our last area is one that initially holds a lot of significance, but loses it after it served its purpose. The Egg Carrier. This thing is cool. A giant warship that floats above the ground and has all of these strong defensive measures, and it can change form depending on what is required, completely altering the layout of the ship. Count me in. While Skydeck serves as the only action stage present on the Egg Carrier, you also get 2 tornado levels and several boss fights out of it, so it's kind of an area that serves as a climax to many of the game's characters, including Gamma, Amy, and Big. But once everybody's abandoned the Egg Carrier, it sort of just falls into the ocean. You're never required to visit it, and even so, it's kind of out of the way, having to go underneath the Mystic Ruins train station to the boathouse to get to. But I suppose it's notable since it feels a lot tamer now. Without all the action from everybody on board, it takes on a different vibe, and I really appreciate that. I don't get why Eggman solely sticks to flying ships, as in the water, this looks really cool too. But I suppose that the Navy would be a little bit of a thorn in his side. I'm not sure why I have such an odd attachment to this place. Perhaps it's from my time playing Sonic Adventure DX on the Xbox 360, where I couldn't figure out how to leave, so I spent way too long running around the crashed airship. But it's interesting to see how drastically a hub world can change, since none of the other hubs in this game change this drastically. Unless you count Angel Island opening up in the Mystic Ruins. That's everywhere I wanted to discuss from Sonic Adventure. These are just some of the places that stood out to me in my most recent playthrough, and I'm sure every subsequent playthrough will have even more areas like this that I'll take note of. If there's anything like this that stands out to you, maybe an area you spent a lot of time stuck in as a kid, or maybe you think the design philosophy of a place is interesting, let me know. It doesn't even have to be from this Sonic game, or any Sonic game for that matter. I'm just a fan of somewhat liminal spaces that serve maybe one purpose at most. And I'll probably take some time to explore every place recommended to me in the comments. I had such a fun time making this video, and it gave me an excuse to replay one of my favorite games of all time, so I think this will become a somewhat regular series. So if you enjoyed this, subscribe and stick around. Thank you all so much for watching, it truly means a lot to me. 2 whole years on YouTube. Wow. Anyways, I hope you have a wonderful day, and maybe you'll even find some obscure spots in a game. Who knows?